Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series, the Infinity Saga. This is the Avengers Endgame 2-pack of Iron Man Mark 85 and Thanos. This surprisingly is one of the most anticipated sets from this premium line, one of the most anticipated packs from this set of Infinity Saga. Let's put it that way. Because we have an awesome update to the Iron Man Mark 85, which really wasn't necessary other than the fact that we have an RDJ Robert Downey Jr. head sculpt, two likenesses, one where he has the battle damage, the I am Iron Man moment, and then earlier, from the movie, with he's all clean looking. And then we have this Thanos, which we've gotten a couple of times technically. Now I know there's been some updates to this figure and there is some battle damage in his armor and things like that. We get the dusting away head sculpt, which is pretty cool. We get some new accessories for both Iron Man and Thanos. He actually has his sword, his blade is actually movie accurate this time, finally. So that is pretty cool. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Infinity Saga, Mark 85, Thanos, Avengers Endgame up at the top. Side artwork is the same as all the previous ones. This box is kind of big, so I can't really turn it to show you guys. The back of the package here, we have the poster of Avengers Endgame. And yes, it is an Iron Man head and not the Robert Downey Jr. one. More than likely, he does not sign off on his face showing on other merchandise other than the official movie poster to promote the movie, not on merchandise, which is why I'm assuming that happens. But who knows? The bio for Iron Man reads, Iron Man steps onto the battlefield against Thanos in the ultimate fight for the fate of the universe. Thanos is a destructive force that will stop at nothing to achieve his goals. Okay. Let's check him out. Okay, and here are the figures out of the package. They are absolutely fantastic. There are some nitpicks, of course, as with all figures, but these things are really good. Now, I know at some point the Iron Man Mark 85 from the Bro Thor wave became hard to get. So now people have a chance to get a Mark 85. I'm not sure whether they finished the Build-A-Figure for Thanos or not. That was in that first Endgame wave. I'm sure people did, but then, I had the wrong gauntlet and had it on the hand the whole time. It's a nice update. We get some battle damage and things like that. So there's some cool things that you could kind of do if you have both or how you want to do it. But I feel like it's different enough that it's okay. Yes, it's another Thanos, which, we had the Build-A-Figure. We had the international exclusive Build-A-Figure, the same figure. But now we have this version. Unlike the other one of the Infinity War Thanos, which we got how many times? Build-A-Figure, International Build-A-Figure, 3-pack, and then the 5-pack Children of Thanos. So Thanos keeps coming, but I'm okay. This one seems to have, the biggest amount of difference, so it's actually really cool. We got a bunch of accessories. It's kind of crazy. So Iron Man, RDJ, we get the battle damage head, we get the clean head, we get the Iron Man helmet head, of course. We get some additional hands. So he on his hands, his left is an open hand, his right is the snapping hand with the Infinity Stones. We have fists there, which are cool, and then we also have the repulsor blast effect hands there, and they are hinged, which is pretty cool. So you could do the whole repulsor blast effect with the hinge as opposed to like the static hand, which is really nice touch that they did that. So that is pretty cool. And then we also, of course, get the two repulsor blast effects that come with every single Iron Man figure at this point. We have this weapon, which I don't remember exactly. Is this like a blast effect? I'll have to go back and kind of watch the movie. I know he did something similar to this in Infinity War, but as far as Endgame, I can't remember. But I want to say he used it as a blade, right? It's not like some kind of blaster. But it's pretty cool. We get some nice translucent blue there. It's the same color as the repulsor blast. And then a nice red paint going over it. So that's actually kind of cool. He'll be able to grip that with the open hand for his left that he has there, which is pretty cool. And then he also has that power shield thing. However, it's powered, and you could see it could clip onto his arm like so. But he uses this when when Bruce Banner, Hulk is first going to use the gauntlet to bring everybody back, right? You got Hawkeye in the background, and then Tony Stark, Iron Man, he uses the shield to kind of protect them from any potential blast or anything. For Thanos, we get an additional hand, as you can see here, for the power gauntlet. It's got the Infinity Stones in it, which look pretty good. It's kind of sculpted a little funky, but I guess, you know, it's just kind of bulky like that. Like the thumb is just like massive and looks a little out of place. The hand that is on the figure itself is actually a snapping hand, but there are no Infinity Stones in there. You can see they're just holes there, obviously because the Infinity Stones were taken by Tony Stark. So that is actually a really, really nice touch that I like. So we get two snap hands, one with Infinity Stones, one without. We get a few different heads for Thanos, heads that we've seen before over and over again. Here's kind of the smiling Thanos head. We get this one, which is kind of like the mean, or I'm here Thanos head. And then we get the one with the armor helmet on, and that looks pretty good there. It is the exact same as the previous ones that we have gotten before, but of course it's got the deco update, so some of the color differences and changes. Whereas the Build-A-Figure had a lot of bronze to it, we get a much darker color, as you could tell there. But it is the same head sculpt. And then here we have Thanos' sword or blade or glaive or whatever you want to call it. But I like to think that, you know, the inspiration for this was the Thanos copter. But here we have it, and it is accurate. It is not the piece of shit that we got with the previous Build-A-Figure version, which was not accurate in the slightest, as you can see there. Well, I guess, I mean, there's some accuracies to it with the blades going opposite directions of each other. So I guess there's that, and the size was pretty good, but it just was kind of dull looking and not cool. This one is pretty badass looking. I like it a lot. It's a nice gunmetal color to it with a little bit of bronzish gold there for the handle. It would be pretty cool if it had some kind of swivel effect so you could do the spinning around, which I don't know how they would do that, but that would be pretty freaking awesome if they did. That looks really cool. But without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to take a look at Thanos first. Okay, so here is an up-close look at Thanos, just to kind of show you some of the armor pieces as I bring a little bit more light into it. You can see they sculpted on a lot of damage into his armor, his shield piece there. Lots of damage, and then they put some kind of like a little bit of paint apps of kind of the darkish gray color that's kind of throughout his suit as well. I don't know if it's supposed to represent kind of dirt or how that is. It seems a little off to me, but you know, it helps differentiate and kind of highlight some of it with the what seems to kind of look like random paint spots, but we'll take it. The head sculpt is actually pretty cool. It's supposed to represent the dusting effect right at that particular moment after Tony Stark does the snap, that Thanos and crew start to dust away. It's a really cool concept. It looks a little funky at first. They kind of have to kind of get used to it. We see a lot of the dusting up at the top and the side, but then there's a little bit over here on his right cheek. From what I remember in the movie at that moment, it's his right side that all begins to dust away as it goes throughout the rest of his body and whatnot as he kind of floats away. But it's a really cool concept, and I think it's awesome that Hasbro actually chose to include that. So that is really cool. It's done pretty nicely. It's just a darker gray kind of throughout all of it, and you can kind of see it, kind of the way they sculpted it. They kind of made it look like, you know, it's kind of clouds of dust coming out. So definitely a nice touch. Let's see the other heads. You know, I'm trying to think. I think it was pretty early on that Thanos actually removed the helmet during battle. But here is that same head sculpt that we got with the Build-A-Figure onto the body. And it looks pretty good. It would have been cool if they did some kind of battle damage to the helmet as well. Maybe just a little bit of color like they did right here throughout, like in there. You know, I'm not expecting them to change the mold or anything. But it would have been a nice little touch had they done that. Pop that head. Here we'll put the smiling head on as if, you know, he's like ready for him. It's like, bring it on, bitches, right? You know, he's got Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America walking up, and he's just like, I am inevitable, right? So there. Now we'll put his grimacing face on, or his serious face. This will be the face when he sees all the Doctor Strange portals and everyone using their sling rings, like, oh shit, they're coming, but I got an army too. There it is. Okay, to get back to this head, but to check out the rest of the figure, one of the nice little touches that they did is we have less armor here on this side, and it looks like, you know, kind of broken pieces. They really sculpted in like the damage to it, because this is actually would be after Scarlet Witch got a hold of him and is like, you took everything from me, and he's like, I don't even know who you are, and she like, you know, she damn near killed him, other than he had to kind of do the he had to rain fire, right? So we get some missing armor pieces there. That's why there's no armor piece on his right arm. So it's those nice little touches that they did to kind of make it a little bit different. We actually have like a regular arm with no gauntlet here, but it is a battle damaged arm. So we still don't have like a regular left arm, and I don't expect us to get one at this point unless there's some kind of random Amazon exclusive 5-pack, kind of like the Children of Thanos. Maybe one day we shall see, but the armor pieces here, as you can see, are battle damaged as well, and they actually look really good because that's gold painted over this gray like gauntlet piece that he has there. Looking at this power gauntlet, it is sculpted on. That is not something that you're going to be able to remove unless you heated it on, but that's going to be stuck on there. And it looks kind of messed up the way they did it. I don't know if it's got some scratches and stuff in it, because this was, you know, at the moment where it was being passed around like crazy. You know, Spider-Man had it, and the Outriders were all attacking him, so it's easy to assume that it got scratched up and was damaged kind of throughout as everything was kind of going around. That is pretty cool. But here's a closer look at that snapping hand, and what a nice little touch, you know, with the empty holes where the Infinity Stones would have been. Sculpted nicely, and he says, I am inevitable, and he's like, think, like, oh, nothing happened, right? One of the big differences between this figure and the Build-A-Figure is you can see the skirt piece. We have like these 3 flaps here as opposed to the single one of the Build-A-Figure, and of course the color, we had like a bronzish color versus now a dark gray, as you can see. And then the side pieces are a little bit different. These side flaps, not a whole lot different, but a little different. And then here on the back, it's actually the same with the 3. So really they just changed that front piece there to be more movie accurate. And that was a nice touch. And then we get some added gray on his boots there. And then the other big update is the ankle pivot, which the first one did not have and was supposed to have, according to Dwight Stahl in one of the live streams. I have no idea which one it was at this point, but that was a manufacturing error that occurred at some point, that it was designed to have the ankle rockers, and he didn't, so now he does. So there is the Thanos. Now let's check out Iron Man. Okay, so here is the Iron Man figure, Tony Stark, RDJ. So taking a close-up look at it, the head sculpts are phenomenal, but they're too big. They are a little oversized, but they look fantastic. I kind of want to overlook it, but I need to tell you guys, it is oversized for sure. Like if you put like the helmeted head next to it, it's like, dude, there's no way that big-ass head would fit in this helmet. But it looks just so damn good. It sucks to have to critique it that way, but you know, if it's not right, it's not right. But it looks really good. I really like the battle damage to it. It's nice. The only flaw I see to it is his goatee. For whatever reason, it's shiny. The same goes for the clean look where he's not battle damaged. That goatee of his is shiny, but it just looks so damn good. I challenge any other action figure line to have this good of a Robert Downey Jr. head sculpt. At this figure, I don't know, you could call this a $20 figure. It's more like a $30 figure, since this 2-pack is $63. However you kind of want to price that out, it is of the lower end of action figures when you have the high-end imports that run upwards of $100, and they are not doing a Robert Downey Jr. head sculpt this damn good. That is absolutely fantastic. Really, really nice. They did a new upper torso for the Iron Man Mark 85. It is not just a new torso with like the neck cut off or anything. There is extremely minor differences between the two, and the way I really noticed that is that right here on the back there is like a there's like sculpted line right there in that gray section that is not present on this one. So that's how I know it is a retooled upper torso, because of course the way they work this one is the neck removes in there, like so. Something that we don't see with Marvel Legends ever, because we can pop on the helmeted head there, like so. And that actually doesn't look too bad. It's just not used to seeing kind of that neckline there. But that is pretty cool. So there we have the helmeted head on the Iron Man. And we could pop that one back off, and we could put the Robert Downey Jr. head on, and that looks really damn good as well. Now, I know people have popped the neck off from the head and used this head onto other figures to give yourselves a proper Tony Stark. Now, I have the one that came in the Walmart exclusive Iron Man Mark 1, and it is just such a tiny figure. Good Robert Downey Jr. likeness there. Great Robert Downey Jr. likeness here, but we're talking like massive size difference between the two. Now, this is a smaller figure, so the head should be smaller. This is a bigger figure, but the head is actually still a little too big. I don't think it's terrible scale, but again, it is a little big, but looks fantastic. Now, looking at the rest of the figure, the rest of the figure is going to be the same, but they made some deco changes that I'm a little confused about. Now, there are some portions of the Avengers Endgame movie where it looks like he has some of those dark gray, almost black areas of his suit. However, I do think that this one here is more accurate with the silver. I like the red on the new one more. And the gold is similar. We kind of get a darker gold on the new one. So I think the red and gold are better on this one, but the silver on this one, like through the arms and stuff, and the shoulder right there on the torso, I think the silver is actually more accurate than this. But this looks fantastic with those dark colors, so I think it could kind of be, you know, during that final battle, it's so dark at night, they're doing the fighting and stuff, it would be hard to tell what the actual color should be. But like when they were still in the Avengers facility after, just before the snap, where Bruce Hulk does the snap, I want to say that it looked more silver like this, or even during when they go back to 2012 and Iron Man is flying around, I saw silver color as opposed to this the darker colors here. So basically anywhere there's silver on this figure, they replace it with a darker color here. But there are some other spots where they added some of that darker color there, like right there. And then they just kept that all gold as opposed to the silver right there. So minor differences in the deco, as you can see, like even on the back. Minor differences, but I'm still liking this new one more, but I wish it had this more of the silver as opposed to all the dark gray, but still looks really, really damn good. So to show you guys also, let's get a better look at that snap hand there. As you can see there, that looks pretty good. We have all the Infinity Gauntlets, the Infinity Stones. There's the other one there, so a nice snap finger, which is pretty cool. And again, we have for his left, he has this holding hand, so he can hold this weapon that he comes with, which is new. So he can do that, like so. I may have that upside down. I don't know if I had that upside down. Probably did. So he can hold that. That looks pretty good. Like so. And then he also has the shield. So it has this big ass clip there, so you can just clip that on his arm, like so. And I want to say I probably have that upside down, so you probably clip it a little bit more, like so, that way. But one thing that's different, or you probably clip it that way, is the shield probably would have been a lot bigger than what we actually got. So I would almost prefer to not even have the shield, because he really only used it for a very short amount of time in the movie. And this is kind of like a thick ass piece of translucent blue plastic. It's cool, I guess. I like the idea of it, but I think it was unnecessary. Or if they were going to do it, they should have made it bigger like it would have been in the movie. But yeah, there we go. Now let's check out both of their articulation. I will try to go through the articulation as quickly as I can. Please bear with me, though. But again, I will try to do it as best as I can. So, for Thanos. He can look down somewhat, he can look up somewhat. You get a full rotation, of course, in there. There's not really a whole lot of pivot going on. You can get the arm to go out that much. You get a full rotation. Watch out for that armor piece. Single jointed elbow with the swivel at that elbow, so you get a bend going that much on his left arm. The right arm is a little bit less of a bend because he has that power gauntlet on there, but the same single joint bend. Ab crunch, he can crunch forward that much, which isn't a whole lot. He can crunch back a little bit of ways there. We still do not have a waist swivel of any kind, no diaphragm joint to get him to do any kind of turn. His legs can go spread apart that much. He can kick forward actually quite high, which is cool. Have an upper thigh cut, double jointed knee like so. We have a ankle that hinges down that much, hinges up a little bit. We actually get the added ankle pivot again, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. Decent for Thanos, but not a whole lot. But I would say decent. So now looking at Iron Man. So with the new neck piece, you can get a couple of points of articulation. So the neck has a dumbbell joint, so you get all kinds of circular motion for Iron Man. He can look down, which is really good. He can't really look up though, unfortunately. You can try, but he's really not going to look up. Full rotation, of course. Crazy pivot. The arm, you can get the shoulder to go out that much. You get a full rotation in there. Upper bicep swivel. Double jointed elbow like so. Wrists swivel, and they do hinge. We have the diaphragm joint on him, so he can pivot to his left tiny bit, pivot to his right tiny bit. He can go back a tiny bit. He can come forward tiny bit. You get the swivel at that diaphragm joint, so that since there is no waist swivel, legs go out that far apart. He can kick forward a little. Upper thigh cut. Leg doesn't really go back. Double jointed knee like so. Foot hinges actually quite a ways down. You can work the foot over that back piece of the armor on his leg to get the pivot to the hinge to go a little bit more. A little bit trickier coming forward, but ankle pivot, pegals at the bottom of the feet, and I do think these feet are still too small. I wish the legs would kind of stay a little bit bulkier as it goes down below the knee, and bigger feet. But it is what it is, and the articulation on this guy is decent. Not the best, but it is decent. So there is the movements between the two. Now, the next thing I want to show you guys is something that a few people have already talked about, but it is getting a Thanos without that power gauntlet arm. So here I have an extra Build-A-Figure arm piece. I don't remember what figure this came from. I think in the regular wave it came with Nighthawk, I think it was. But this arm actually came from the Best of International wave, and I don't remember which figure actually came with this arm or not. It may have been the Black Widow figure. I can't remember. But we're going to pop this one on there so we can have Thanos without the gauntlet. Now, the issue will be there's more armor on this guy, and then we have the different color gauntlet piece. Here we have the bronze as opposed to the dark gray. But what I'm hearing is that you can work this arm out since it was a Build-A-Figure previously. So we can just pop it off like so. We can pop this one on in there. The skin tone matches. That's not so much an issue. But now we have a battle damaged Thanos with no gauntlet showing at all. So depending on the type of photography that you want to do, you know, if we're not dusting away and we have him in his armor, like ready to fight or whatever the case may be, you could do something like that. Now, from far away, the color difference isn't as noticeable. It's there, but you can hide it in certain ways, or if you're a customizer and enjoy painting, you could do that type of thing as well. You just have to keep in mind that, you know, battle damage, no battle damage on that arm, but it works and looks pretty good. Or I wouldn't be surprised if you guys would heat these up, pop out the forearm at the elbow, and then swap this lower arm for this lower arm. That's not something I would ever do because I would always worry that I'm going to break something. I know it can be done, so that is another option as well. So you could still keep this battle damage portion up for his upper arm. Oh man, something about having the Marvel Trinity here for Endgame, the proper figures for Avengers Endgame, having Captain America, this new Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr., and the Final Battle Thor figure. Oh, Yes. I kind of want a new Captain America, though, because look how short this one is compared to the other guys. Damn. Just think of all the possibilities you could do now having all these different versions of the Avengers Endgame. I really, really, really want a new Captain America. The Power and Glory Walmart exclusive Captain America was fantastic, but I kind of want one that's a little bigger. I just still feel that this figure is just too undersized. I have him propped up higher, so he looks taller than Iron Man, with Iron Man kind of being further out in the distance. You know, there's this one particular moment in the movie where you could kind of see them all like this. You probably can't see that on the picture there, but that's kind of what I was going for there. So it's just, what an awesome set to get this version of Iron Man. Just to get the Robert Downey Jr. head sculpts alone is just absolutely fantastic. Oh, I'm so excited. It's just, so good. Okay, so my final thoughts. What a fantastic set. The $63 price tag sucks, but I do feel like we get a lot of bang for our buck in this. The Robert Downey Jr. head sculpts are absolutely phenomenal, and I think worth picking up just to get those to have the best, maybe the best movie Iron Man. I mean, the Mark III is fantastic, so I mean, let's not take away from that. But this is such a really good figure to have such an iconic moment from Avengers Endgame to do the I Am Iron Man, and then to see Thanos dusting away out there. It's just what a great set. But you guys let me know down in the comments what you think of this set. I know I'm gushing over it. I tend to do that with a lot of Marvel Legends figures, especially MCU. But it is such a fantastic set that I was dying to get my hands on, and I finally did. And it does not disappoint, like, at all. Yes, we got the Iron Man Mark 85 figure before. Yes, we got this basic version of Thanos before. I don't even care, because the upgrades to these figures are fantastic. I know a lot of people skipped out or couldn't get the Iron Man or didn't want to build Thanos. Well, here you go. For all those that say, oh, I'll wait till the 2-pack comes out or the 3-pack comes out. Here is that 2-pack. Now, tell me what you guys think of it, because I think they're absolutely fantastic, and worth picking up. But, you know, maybe that's my opinion, but you guys, please do let me know down in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching as we dust away.